He's okay, taking care of him, nursing him back to health. And then when he gets out of the hospital, he tells her it's moving too fast.
Yeah, well, that was no. Let's break that down. I'm just going to take that one. First of all, if
From
a
a male's
man,
perspective,
no, if a man
happened.
told you that, you weren't ever exclusive. He liked the ideal of you, because if you came up and showed that type of all in to him, and then he was like, "Hey, wait a minute, you were there when I was vulnerable, when I was weak, and I was sick, and nobody else was, and that's too fast." Then you don't even know this guy. You know, he is. You've been seeing the representative. You took home one of those sick puppies and thought you could nurse it back to health, and then it started biting everybody, and you're like, man, I don't know why that pit bull it was up for adoption. Now you see why it was a stray. You know, there is no way that he was ever all in. You were never exclusive. You know, he just agreed to whatever. There had to have been advantageous for him.
No, he's the person that asked.
Yeah. Well, and then he was trying to get some. You may have been like, I don't mess around with anybody unless we're in the well, let's get in that relationship then. You know, there has to be, because no man is like, I got sick, and if you did that, we bonded. Man. If I'm starting a church and you know, you're there with me and you knocking on doors, you helping me clean up, set up, and all that during the courtship. The pastor would look at it and be like, "Man, Joy, that's the one to marry. Man, she down here doing all that. You've demonstrated all the wife qualities." So if a man's like, "Nah, you moving too fast, girl. You was in there nursing me and stuff," then he was never marriage material.
Okay. The message that he's really giving you is, I would rather be sick than allow you to heal me.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be sick.
Yeah.
I don't, anything that has to do with you assisting me and helping me to be better or
Right.
no.
You're going to be expecting me to be
rather-
there for you when you down.
I would rather just dwell in my sickness and be unhealthy. I don't care what's going to happen. But you, no, I can't. I can't do it.
Okay. Pastor Henry, your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with both of these gentlemen. I mean, 1 week, and then all the feelings just go out the door just in 1 week. Yeah, you were never serious to begin with. No, it was definitely. It sounded like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just sounded like a good idea, but no, that you never vested in that, never.
Yeah, that was all the Henny right there.
Yeah, you were sick. Maybe I don't know. Yeah.
So when do we as men just say, hey,
Right. Why don't you just be upfront?
this is going too far. And speaking from experience, just recently, I promise you that the relationship I was in, the type that will take your life to the next level. But I think, and we going there, right? So I think what has to happen is we always approach these relationships with, or we hear from the woman's side, I bring this to the table, what you bring to the table. And I think if you're a man and if you don't even have a table,
Say it.
then inadvertently you're going to eat from hers. And for me, I'm the type where I got enough backbone to go out and build my own table. And I need to realize that before I go any further with you, because I don't want to be in a relationship or a marriage and 20 years later I'm like, you know what, my wife stuck with me when I didn't have nothing, when I could have caught that at the very beginning when we dating and say, you know what, I don't want to waste your time. I want to go out and prove to myself that I love myself enough to establish these things before I come into this relationship.
No, but you want her to sit around and wait until you get all that.
Not at all. Nope.
No, there's
Most
too many other
men
fish
Nope.
out there.
I want you
wait
to.
on that.
Yeah, I'm
But
like,
see,
and
but
I will
most
make
men-
that sacrifice.
But see, that's I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask, when as women, when we meet men, now in 2019, the reality of it is most women, I ain't going to say have more, but we have a table. And sometimes we are bringing more to the table. For example, like me, me and Tia both were homeowners. We grind, we work, all of that. We don't necessarily meet men sometimes who come to the table with what we have. Sometimes we have more. And so, like you said, Lindell, instead of being open and honest from a man's perspective and saying, I don't have my together, they still continue to pursue us, but then they start backing off when they realize it's too much.
But why would you give an audience to somebody that didn't come as an equal?
Well, because I'm going to say from my perspective, you don't necessarily have to come. I own a home, but I'm not saying you got to come with a home yourself. So from that perspective, I'm not going to cancel you out because you
Okay,
may not
if
be
he
a
doesn't have a home
homeowner.
himself, then he stays with his mom, right?
No, he has an apartment. And
Oh,
they
he's
may,
got
they
an
may live in an
apartment.
apartment. They may live in an apartment.
All right. But we can't just define the qualifications as, what do you own? What do you
I done dealt with
drive?
some jokers.
Because there's some guys who are frugal. I buy everything outright. I don't operate in debt. I go into a dealership. I say, what's the cash price? And I come back, and that's what I just do that. I'm not going to go into debt. But I also don't define myself by needing BMW, right? But some guys have the appearance of having it together because they have. You can be like Aaliyah. You can have a whole lot of baggage that's name brand and try to elevate and blow up. You got to be like, you got to have some more substance to yourself. You know what I mean? Than just what you own. It has to be, because qualities are stronger than properties. You know what I mean? The quality of like the drive to go after a dream. If you're a business owner, you meet a man and he's got ambition. He's more than a cheerleader. He can plug into your life and help you expand your brand and who you are. He's bringing more to the table than just he got a property, you got a property. There are qualities that can bring somebody to an equal standing, but it can't just be wait till I get a house, wait till I get a car, because we're not stacking chips that way.
Pastor Henry, you want to say something? Before you do, let me say what your wife said. You want her comments?
What she said?
She said, marriage material. How do you handle your finances? Are you able to submit and follow a man's lead? How you take care of his needs over your own? Support his vision and being able to encourage, uplift, and see him beyond where he is. Okay, go ahead.
I keep hearing this term, and it's a term that I've just heard over and over again throughout my life about bringing to the table. And,
Right.
and I just want to unpack that for a minute,
Go ahead,
because
unpack.
I think we have a distorted view of really how even relationships start. And what I mean by that is we've been led to believe that it's two people coming together and building a future. Well, I want to dispel that myth. It's not two people coming together and building a future. It's actually the merging of two pasts.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really what it is when you get. The best way to describe getting into a relationship, and especially marriage, is like meeting at an airport terminal. You got some bags, and I got some bags. But we're about to get on here and go to a destination together. So we're going to have to decide what bags we take on the trip.
That's good.
Because the more bags you take, the more cost you incur.
That's
Some of the
good.
baggage you can put above your head, you can deal with. Other baggage got to go
Those,
below.
I think that's one of the
That's
questions,
right.
those non-negotiable different things. But I think really that's really what we
So
have
you
to
said we
understand
got
what
to
it's going to
change
cost.
our perspective of not what we're bringing to the table to build a future,
yeah, 'cause-
but what we're bringing from our past to merge
At
as
the table.
one at
Yeah,
the table.
while we're at
okay.
the table.
Okay, that's
Well,
good.
I
Does that
have a
make
question.
sense?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. That makes awesome. I love that analogy. So, okay, so back to the original scenario from the man's perspective. Did this woman do anything wrong? Could she have done anything differently?
I don't think she could have.
I think she should have went beyond the fact that he said. What did he do to show that he was really in a relationship with her?
Yeah.
You mean to tell
Well, the
me?
time frame happened so quickly. They started dating exclusively on
Do you know this
Friday.
person? Just
Yeah.
And by
think
Like you
Sunday-
know this individual?
I think she
Yeah.
might know.
Yeah,
I
I
think she
might.
know.
And then by Sunday, he
Nah,
got
On the third day.
third day. He
look,
rose
she
again.
got she.
But no, in between that time, I mean, the person that met the person's daughter and all of that stuff. So, there was.
But it doesn't mean
a
that he
path
values
going-
some of those connections.
And what did he think exclusive meant?
Yeah.
You don't see anybody else, and I don't see anybody else.
He knew that?
Yeah.
Right. Well, he may have agreed to that because he want to take you off the market, but doesn't mean that he was ready to come off. you know?
That's another good point.
Oh, that's good. So
That's
what
a
you're
good-
saying is a man will say, let's date exclusively to take us off the market,
Right.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that they ready to come off the market.
That's great insight.
I'm glad you. So now you're gonna have me looking side eye when somebody asks me to date exclusively, because how do I know they off the market then? If I take myself off the market, how I know you off the market?
You don't. I mean, I think that's the thing about other people. We all can make our own decisions, and we don't have a crystal ball, and we got to take care of ourselves. We got to be able to take care of the consequences. So let's say I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to date you, and let's say he decides to do something different than what I want him to do. It's going to hurt. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be disillusioned. But at some point, I got to be like, you know what? It kind of is what it is. I can't stop my life because somebody made a decision. But that comes with growth. And I'm sitting here today at this table having grown to this perspective in my life. I am by no means saying that I just woke up and this is how I see things. No, I've been hurt. I've had a lot of experiences that have brought me to this point in my life as a single Black woman, is that you got to take responsibility for yourself, for your feelings, what you going to do, what you not going to do, what your standards are, period. And I really believe that with everything. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't be hurt if somebody did, but that means I got to be responsible for who I let in my life, who I listen to, and I got to have a certain amount of discernment about people. And I believe God will give you that over time and experience. He will. He'll just let you know. Sometimes we hear that voice and we ignore it. But he tells us. You got to trust it.
That intuition is there.
And then when you
because
don't,
of all those life experiences.
Then we want to be crying somewhere as opposed to saying, okay, what lesson can I learn from this? Do I keep doing this over and over again, or do I learn at some point to take responsibility for what I'm going to do, what I'm not going to do, and how I'm going to navigate through my life? That's just where I am right now in my life.
Our next question. That's so true. As women, we do have to take responsibility.
Gotta take responsibility. It can't be the
it
man's fault every time.
We
that
see
ain't
the
right.
signs, and we just keep
That ain't
going
right.
full throttle. One of the next questions is, this one is good. What's one thing a woman should understand about a man? I don't know if you can limit to one. So we're going to say, what are several things, men, that y'all want us as women to understand about men? Because we are so different.
Man.
We are so different. We think differently. We communicate differently.
Yeah, man is trichotomous, man. He's not just the physical aspect. He's not just a provider, but he's spiritual, he's intellectual. There's aspects to him. If a man doesn't have any spiritual connection, then he's dangerous, you know? The more that a man that he is, we talk about, like, if he isn't going to go to worship with you, how does he lead you in worship, right? So, I mean, every man has multiple sides to him. There's a fun side of him. There's a serious side of him. But you've got to know all those sides of him, because you might be able to deal with him the way he is in church, but can you deal with him the way he is in a parking lot? Because sometimes the church parking lot can be magical.
Ooh,
a whole lot of relationships got fixed in the car on the way in. You know, I can't stand you. Praise the Lord, Pastor.
Right.
Praise the Lord. You know, I just want to thank God for my husband.
Right.
You know, knowing that y'all were just out there. But there's that every man there's more to him. There's layers to him. It's not just his bases. As long as you keep him fed and he's got fat on him, girl, he's good. You know, there's much more to us than just providing sexual services to us.
Not services, Pastor Henry.
Yeah.
What are several things women need to understand when it comes to men? What are several things we need to understand?
Okay. I think at the top of my list, you need to understand that he's not the last man that you
There's
with.
more.
And I think I'll just drop the mic right there. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times I think, you know, there's a comparison, and a lot of time, you know, the last man that you were with, it becomes the rubric and how you measure the next one. Mm-hmm. And they're just, the two are not the same, you know, and you gotta be open to the fact that you can't always go after what's familiar.
Oh, that's so good. As women, we do that. We run right back to what's familiar to us, especially when we don't want to be alone.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's too nice. He's too soft. He talks too much.
His mama too involved.
No, I'm just keeping it real. But you know, and I hear people say it all the time. You know, it's hard for me to let go of this previous person because we got history together.
Ooh,
but history is a study of the past.
Yes.
If it didn't work then, why do you think it's going to work right now?
No, that's true.
That's good. Okay. So true.
Lindell, what is something as women that we need to understand about men?
For the most part, we are pretty simple. I think if you can reach us in a way that we give you access to, you'll discover that you've had us all along, but there's a lot that goes on in a woman's mind that a man will never be able to really tap into. That's a complex place.